Hello, good morning. I would like to seek your indulgence to give other participants about 5 minutes to join us. I believe that everyone wants to be here. So for those who came very early, thank you very much. So we start at 10:05. So sorry. Thank you very much. I hope the screen is quite visible. The lighting is a little bit duller here, and but if you can all see me clearly online, that would be great. I hope everyone can see me. As well as the screen. The screen seems to be. Use the lighting there. You become more darker. Okay. Right. Good morning, everyone. I want to say good afternoon. Thank you very much, participants joining from KL or colleagues joining from KL. and colleagues from Finland. I'm glad to be part of the workshop this morning to share the little and humble experience I know about using AI for research and supervision, especially. So thank you very much once again, and good morning. So we will start the sharing now. So before we start, please, I want the KL, the Selangor branch to notify if they can hear me clearly and the visual is okay. You can just use the text to notify, or you can use your mic.
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Thank you
But
very much, Stephanie. Yeah.
yeah, but I think you can present the slide, only the slide.
Only the slide. Okay, all right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dr. Sulaiman. Yes, thank you.
Right. So today we're going to be discussing about how to use AI in research and supervision. Now, this is a peer-led teaching and learning sharing session. I only have one aspect that I will do sort of an hands-on, but it's not going to be a detailed hands-on because again, it's sharing, and I just want to elaborate on the importance of the use of AI in research and supervision, and how to guide our supervisees for an effective use of AI as well. Correct, or recently, the university management have introduced a new assessment profile, which allows students now to use AI, preferably if the lecturer allows as well. But there is one thing that comes to mind. It is the appreciation of the fact that the university now understand the importance and pertinence of AI, because AI is here to stay and we don't have anything to do about, we can't do anything about it. AI is here to assist, not to take over our jobs or to take over our brain. So on the latter, taking over our brain, this is why we have to discuss this kind of points or sharing among ourselves, especially as educators. If we understand how AI is to be used, we can easily guide our students or supervisees on how to use it, especially pointing at the ethical aspects of AI. I know one of my colleagues is going to be having that workshop soon, which is very, very great. But then during this too, we will touch upon the ethical aspect of using AI. This is part of guiding. It's part of guiding our students to be able to use the AI effectively and also not to worry much in using AI. So today, we will touch on key aspects on why the use of AI is pertinent or important for academics, especially academics like us working in a private university. Public university counterparts have so much, I wouldn't say it's support because their timetable or work schedule is quite different from ours. We are sort of in HR and high power work system because of the amount of schedules we have and the amount of time we're required to put into those schedules in accomplishing them. But for public university lecturers, they are more like researchers. Their teaching load is a little bit lower than ours. So we are in a position of need to find an assistant Again, because we're not lucky enough to have a lot of, research assistants to help us in research, again, as our public university counterparts would have. So AI is going to be our assistance, and this is part of what we will be discussing. First, to see research demands are increasing, as we all know. We have KPIs to meet. Each one of us, lecturers, academics, are required to publish a certain amount of articles. Now, publishing an article is not a magic. It is also not a rocket science. However, time is imminent, and we don't have that on our hands. So how do we go about doing research to meet up our performance, as well as balance of supervising and teaching? So the use of AI is quite something we cannot look out from. I've been using AI now for a couple of years. When I was doing my PhD, I was not lucky. There was no AI then. There was AI, but not as popular as it is today. So I remembered how much I have to put into researching, literature review, gathering articles, and trying to, mind map around all these ideas that I bring together to write my thesis, to write the few articles that I published during my PhD, as well as, after my PhD. But today, AI has cut off, I tell you, more than months of work for me, bringing it down to hours and days. So that is how efficient and effective the use of AI is. And that is why it is important to actually publicize the benefits. I remember Mr. Gabriel mentioning it during the recent symposium about students using AI assistants. AI assistants has been there for long, and it is quite relevant to students' needs. However, how does the student use it? That is the most important thing. It is not something wrong for them to use, but are they using it in the right way? So the question here is no longer whether AI is to be used or is being used, but how responsibly, again, and effectively AI is to be used. So today, the session position is going to be on how we can leverage AI as a junior research assistant, not a ghostwriter. This is important because before I decided to do this sharing, I've had some incidents with students where students use AI for their assignment, and I caught them. Now, because I've made it my own personal task to study and understand AI, I was able to build an application, again with AI, that would help me detect. But recently, I found out that Turnitin also have this inside, which makes it very wonderful. But that AI caught a lot of the students, and I called them around, say, okay, you are allowed to use AI. Reason is, majority of you are not English speaker. English is not your first language. So you can use AI to translate or to even, review your work. So you can now reference it as you use it to review your work or check grammar or something like that. So if there is any amount of similarities, then you are going to go scot-free. So far, you don't exceed the allowed similarity. So a lot of people use AI as ghostwriter, and even colleagues use AI as ghostwriter, which is quite dangerous, and which is actually one of the most important discussion we are supposed to be having as academics, because AI is artificial intelligence. What about the actual intelligence? We are the actual intelligence. Reading should not be far away from a task that we will continue to do. We should continue to read. Because the more we decide not to read, then the more our brain goes atrophy. Our brain will be dead. So we don't want to become dead academics, or brain dead academics. So AI, in the sense, should support our thinking, but not take over our thinking. Because there is no way you can humanize an AI text, generated text. It will still sound as AI. Because, for instance, if you use ChatGPT, by the way, ChatGPT is the worst that you could use, but that is the most accessible to a lot of people. ChatGPT generates a lot of words that does not even fit. So this is how majority of reviewers who wouldn't even use AI detectors knows this is not you. The way I talk will be different from the way every other person talks. So the humanness in us will reflect in our writing. No matter how concise or succinct we want the writing to be, we will still have that humanness. So that is what detectors will look for. And apart from that, if you write on a sheet of paper, let's say a white A4, if you write a full page, it takes you an amount of time, probably 10 minutes, 15 minutes. That is even if you are copywriting, talk more of using your mind to construct statements or sentences. It will still take you an amount of time. The same thing is what the AI detectors does by trying to see on the font you've pasted into the detector how long or how many minutes you've used to type. Because if you use a typewriter, no matter how fast you are, you will still register, the exercise of typing each word against each alphabet against each word and sentence. So this is the data that the AI detector uses, because AI generated text is like pictures. It's just like screenshot, pasted, not typed. ChatGPT might look as if it's typing, or any other large language model. They might look like they're typing, but they are not typing. They are actually capturing and pasting. So this is what AI detector will look at, and it is very, very visible for the AI detector. So you see, we should start to use AI as a support for our thinking, as well as structure, just like I advise the student, and sense making, which is very important. Again, majority of us have English as a second language. So if we want to construct a statement, for instance, each academic discipline have their own ways of writing. Okay? So if you want to construct a statement to fit your academic field, then you can use AI, but you have to write the statement yourself. Just put it into AI, prompt it up to write it accordingly, but you are writing yours. So it is just like you are reviewing or correcting your sentences, which is acceptable, isn't it? So not generating that statement from AI, all right? So in essence, we as academics must always try to remain the theorist in this game. We are the main character, not AI. I mean, today we have Microsoft word to text or speech to text, but then it is still your speech. It's not the Microsoft computer's speech. It is your speech. So the same thing should happen to AI, all right? We should still remain the theorist, the decision maker. We should not trust decision to AI, as well as the ethical gatekeeper, knowing how far we have to go in using AI, right? So the section we will try to cover using how we can use AI to map our literature. That will come at almost the end of the session, actually. And how to use it to synthesize, right? Without plagiarism. That is very important, all right? And we will also discuss on how AI can assist us in qualitative coding and thematic analysis. For those of us who like to do qualitative research, how AI can help you transcribe your recording, all right? So, as well as how AI can help us, as well as our supervisees in structuring our literature review from the beginning of, finding literatures or articles or empirical research or systematic literature research that we review, that we want to read, up to how to even respond to reviewers. So before we start, we need to set some ground rules, all right? Just like we mentioned earlier, AI-generated outputs, right, are not technically scholarly evidence. And that is one of the most important things that we should note before trusting AI. If you ask ChatGPT to generate a literature review, for instance, what ChatGPT does is to look around for relevant titles, statements, and topic to your own topic included in the prompt. Either it is from a newspaper print or from a real empirical article or even from Wikipedia, all right, and dump it on your response. So if you trust that, you are going to be sending garbage to publishers and they will return it back to you immediately because it won't make sense. Reason is AI, such as ChatGPT especially, will reference, and you'll find out the reference are even non-existing, but it will reference so perfectly. If you are not a meticulous researcher, you will trust it and then it will mess you up. Secondly, ChatGPT have a way of writing so confidently that if you are not, again, somebody who actually check well, then you will feel convinced with what it wrote for you and you trust it and that's all. Meanwhile, it's just writing and hallucinating and you are trusting that, all right? So it is very important that the outputs, we should know that the output from AI is not definitely scholarly, evidence, because it's just grab and grab. It didn't do any thorough reading or anything. AI does not replace reading. Again, it is important for us to imbibe the culture of reading. And when I'm doing the hands-on, you will see that we still need to consult the traditional way. Even after using AI to get some things, we need to go back, all right? So it is important to continue to engage in that exercise of reading, because that is what will make our work actually perfect. Again, AI is wonderful, but as an assistant, not replacing us, right? It is also not going to replace data collection. You cannot, well, we use majority of these, either Microsoft Form, Google Form, or other, they use AI-backed aspect, but AI is not the one responding. You will still need to share. But now, some people want to cut corner by even asking ChatGPT to generate data for them. And ChatGPT will bring out a very wonderful, beautiful data presentation, even draw, the models for you. And some people will trust it to the effect that they dump it into their work. That is a total big mistake. Some use AI for analysis. Now, there are AI that does analysis, but those AI still require human input. So it is not overall their output. It is still the input from the researcher in collaboration with the input from AI. So for instance, you might use AI for your data cleaning. You pop in your data into the AI and it cleans your data for you. Instead of going to SPSS, for instance, there are some AI that does that. So that is acceptable because you are still having your original data and the cleaning up is just what the AI does, but not generate data or do your analysis, right? So we also need to understand transparency. And transparency is what UOW management are giving us now by including that statement, that caveat in our assessment brief to either allow students to use and making students aware that you are allowed to use, but at a certain percentage, or not to allow students to use if you are still against AI, which I would advise not to. So we shouldn't be against the use of AI again, because we cannot escape. We ourselves should even be champions of AI. In that way, we can have total control on how our students use it and how academic community use it. So we should also, just like I mentioned, check citation because AI can cite, hallucinated citations which are not correct or existing. And at all time, human verification must be made essential. These are ways that we can really control how AI is used and digested, especially by our students or supervisors. So institutional ethics is very important. Now we have a statement in our brief, but I believe the university is currently also working on what is allowed as the accepted figure, okay, for similarities in the use of AI, as well as how much students are allowed to use AI. Just like I mentioned, you can use AI to structure, to review, to check your grammar, to rewrite, to rephrase or paraphrase your work, right? So how much percentage will that generate if students use it that way? I believe the university are currently working on that, and it will be wonderful if students will know. Because currently, I don't think we have that information for them. So journal policies are always there, and it is advisable they must be respected. I've seen a lot of journal. Me and my colleague just submitted for recently to a journal, and it is written there. Journals will tell you if you use AI, just declare. Declare. ChatGPT have a way of referencing, and other AI too, you can also reference them, such as we reference ChatGPT. So in all times and at all cases, AI must always be used again as an assistive tool. And I'm consistently mentioning this because this is important and not a replacement for our own actual intelligence. We are the actual intelligence. AI is just here to assist, and we should have that in our consciousness every time we want to engage the use of AI. And that will continue to bring us back to reality, that we are in control, we are the true decision makers. So we discussed about what AI can do, the benefits, and how we can use AI in a controlled way. So how can we turn AI into a junior research assistant? This is the most important thing, because this is how academics are supposed to use AI. This is how I'm using AI, all right? I've developed an agentic AI for myself, and I am using it in an ethical way. I am still the one writing, but it is synthesizing for me in the most perfect way. I can tailor it to any journal, the way any journal, expect authors to write, but it is still my work. So I will write a general, literature review, synthesis, and co with a ready-made reference and citations, all right? Then I will pop it into this agentic AI and tell it to tailor it to maybe British Journal of Education Technology. Then it will tailor it to that journal's articles. And I will always go back to BJet, download one of the articles, put it side by side with mine, the generated one, that is the synthesized one using AI. And I will see that the similarity of the way, the style of writing is almost 98%, which is good for me. Then I can now submit to that journal. Now, the pressure or the headache of trying to think as human, which takes a lot of time, is already reduced for me. So that is one way, a shortcut that I use AI for. All right. So for the use of AI as junior research assistants, general research and writing assistants, just like the one I mentioned now. But again, you need to control it. You need to be the supervisor. When I was doing my PhD, I write a lot with my supervisor, but I am the research assistant in that category. So this is how we should use AI. My supervisor will still check and review whatever I wrote. So if there is any changes, she will call me back. We will do the changes, and this is the normal way between supervisor and their supervisees. So I also use AI for literature mapping and evidence synthesis. Again, just like I mentioned earlier, synthesis can take a while. Even if you have read a lot of articles, because your literature review is full of synthesis, your discussion is also full of synthesis, where you will try to synthesize your findings with what has been done in the past and what can be done in the future. So you want to bring all those discussions together. But for humans, we spend a lot of time doing that. We go back and forth reading and trying to. But for use of AI, you have your body of work written by yourself, pop it in, give it a prompt, and then it will do it. Then what you need to do is just read, just review, and if there are any changes, you will need to do it again. But this cuts down on the amount of time we are supposed to input as researchers. Again, especially researchers and academics in our own current situation, all right? So also, we can use AI as a junior research assistant to target journal, just like I mentioned now. The reason why I was able to build this agentic AI for myself was because I put my experience as a research assistant with my supervisor into the design. And it's like I was replicating the activities that I would do as a research assistant, all right? And AI is doing that, searching for journal, targeting journal to submit, and even drafting publication strategy, all right? So another thing is on qualitative coding. I will pop in my checklist and my question sets. AI will match the coding for me. So if I am doing interview, for instance, I already know which. So when the respondent responded and I pop in the audio into AI transcriber, I would also prompt it to match, the thematic codes against the response. So for instance, if I'm talking about maybe comparing UOW and USM. So where UOW is a code and USM is another code, and I code them numerically as maybe UOW2, USM3. If a participant mentioned UOW 4 times, that is the code appearing 4 times. And somebody mentioned USM 3 times. So I wouldn't need to go back and start reading from transcript, because in my master's, I did mixed method. And I know again how long it took me. because there was no AI. So all this experience was what I brought in to help myself now, because I still love to do research and I want to do research in the right way. So I'm using them as assistive, junior researcher in that way. So it also helped in thematic analysis. All right. Most importantly, AI as junior research assistant can help you in developing your proposal and even supporting your grant writing. If we look at the pace of time given for deadlines in submission of grant, we will know that for us, in most cases, it is always overwhelming. I am somebody who likes to organize. So when I'm doing some things, I like to focus on it. And when another thing that is interesting came, it will destroy my focus because I want to do. But in the long run, when I assess the possibility and find out that I may not be having the time because I have to teach, I have to do other things, then I get so depressed, which we're not supposed to be experiencing again as academic. We're not supposed to be depressed on the job. We're supposed to be elated, super excited. But because sometimes you find opportunities slipping out of your hands because they are uncontrollable, you feel depressed. Because it's not like you cannot do it, but you don't even have the time. So you can use AI for this. Another thing is responding to reviewer, right? A lot of us get our papers accepted with conditions. When we want to respond to reviewer, we get overwhelmed. It takes us a long time because we need to identify reviewers as human beings with emotion. How do we respond to them that will not get on their emotion negatively? How do we romanticize them with our writing? So these are the ways AI can help you. You put in the prompt of what you want, and it will structure your response. The response you have already written anyways. It will structure it, then you can check. If you need to edit, if you need to rewrite again, you do it. So these are ways that we can make use of AI, right? Now, in the slide, you will see some logos pasted there. These are the most popular AI that I use, all right? So first is the elicit. Now, as researchers, again, we need to read, we need to look for articles. In most cases, some of the articles, we don't even have subscription to download them, right? And when we want to do our literature review, we need to do a literature review mapping, which will, we want to connect discussions, we want to connect arguments, we want to connect findings, and all those to find gap, especially. Elicit helps with that. We have SciScope. SciScope, just like Elicit, also help with mind mapping, literature gathering, as well as connected, discussions between articles. ChatGPT, you can use that to provide a structure. That is what I use ChatGPT for, basically. Provide a structure or a kind of format. So if I want to publish in an Emerald journal, for instance, Emerald journals have a singular, identical way of structuring, regardless of the journals. If it is under Emerald, they have their own. So if it is under Web of Science, they have their own. So I just use ChatGPT to structure. So how do I write, my abstract, what is supposed to be there, and all. That's what I use. Then I take this structure before starting to write my paper, and I write my paper under each of the headings. When I pop in my abstract, I would already write the synopsis of what I'm writing about, then put it into ChatGPT, then it can bring out the structure after prompting it to give me an Emerald-based journal structure, and it will do that perfectly. So this also reduced the time, the amount of time of you thinking, what is acceptable here, what is not acceptable, Then Research Rabbit is a very, very versatile AI that helps you to gather any amount of article you need. So looking for article becomes easier, all right? Then Connected Papers too, just like the name implies, gives you articles that are connected to your topic or title. So you don't need to put in months. I researched and gathered articles during my PhD for 6 months. 6 months, I cannot write anything. My supervisor, he cannot write anything. Go and do literature review for 6 months. Let me see the list. Put all your literature into a table. And you know how big literature review tables are, right? You put the authors, you put their method, the findings, and all those. I have to design the table, put. On each of the construct of variables that I've used in my PhD thesis, I have to put the corresponding literatures. That takes a long time of reading, mapping, synthesis, and connecting. In few hours, Connected Paper can do that for you and even generate a beautiful table for you. So this cuts back a lot of, time wasting and provide efficiency in research. Cloud. Now, this is my wonderful research assistant AI, Claude. Claude is 1,000 times better than GPT. I've used GPT. GPT is the proponent anyway, is the first, all right? So I tried GPT and discovered, but Claude, Anthropic have been able to do their homework and put in a lot of effort in making Claude better. So for me, even reviewing, I use Claude. Because when you use Claude to review, Claude can even suggest references that 100% matches your discussion. And these references are correct. They are original research. You can even prompt them to give you a recent research, a Q1 based, article or empirical research publication. It will do it. So your work will become more better and academically standard. So these are the main AI that I use. There are other AIs that are very useful, but there is a caveat. All right. As wonderful as these AI are, you cannot access majority of them or achieve the optimal use without you subscribing. You should all remember that people who design them are also business-minded people. So you have to pay. So that is the problem now. Because if you want to get the best out of AI, you need to take the pro version at least. That is what will give you the optimal usage. Because for Claude, for instance, if you want to use Claude, there is an aspect that has research. That is which conducted deep research for you. GPT-2 has the same, but not in the free version, in the pro version. So most of these papers are a little bit pricey. Some of them are affordable. GPT is $20, that's under 85 ringgit. Claude 2 is about $20 if you're paying monthly. I subscribe for monthly because I might change at any time. And again, because if I want to use all, I cannot subscribe, for all, then I will go bankrupt. So one thing that I hope is, and I would like to make it as a proposition, that the university, because of their awareness of the importance of AI and the acceptability that students and academics can use AI in an ethical way, could subsidize, because all these AI apps have company-wide subscription, which the university can subscribe to, and every staff will be able to access them and use the best of optimal quality. So that is my suggestion, if it is going to be accepted. And if not, we should also try to invest Because to be honest, we're not working or developing ourselves for the university alone. We're also developing ourselves for ourselves. So we should also try to invest as little as 85 ringgit. So for literature review, AI, ChatGPT, sites called elicits. One, they can identify conceptual clusters in your topic area. When you pop in a topic into elicit, for instance, it can give you different conceptual articles that have been written there, even empirical articles, discussion, abstract, and findings. So you know where you are joining the discussion in a research area. Because majority of us are emotional. When I started writing, I was emotional to the topics. All right. If I meet a senior colleague who told me, who mistreat me, I would want to write about it. All right. But what I'm writing, is it relevant? Is it currently the discussion? And this is what takes our, efforts to waste sometimes. When we finish writing, very beautiful write-up, we pop it into any journal, they reject. Some journal will be kind enough to refer you. This topic or title is not currently suitable for us, but we can refer you. And the referred journal to refer you until forever, because we are emotional. So using elicit will show you what is the current discussion. Today, everyone knows AI is in discussion. So where do you want to go into AI? So elicit can give you that and give you the right cluster on your topic area. And then that also reduces the amount of time wasting. And at least you know you are in the right position. One important thing is sites core and elicit can even help you identify gap. And this is very important in research, because what do you want to write about? Your relevance is the gap you are filling. So if your research is not filling any gap, then that means you're just writing a mere newspaper article. But if you want your research to be impactful, then you are filling a gap. Right? So these two, elicit and site score, give us even a gap. And in most cases, their gap is very good. I've tested it before. We submitted a paper to the International Journal of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. It's a Q2 Journal Web of Science. I used elicit to find gap, and it gave me gap. The topic I wrote about is actually SME, which is a whole lot of discussion area. But I was able to fix myself into a niche there that the journal see as interesting. So you can imagine if I have to do it manually as human, it will take me a long time. And in the long run, I might be writing on something that is already outdated. But that AI helped me. And I was just discovering elicit there. So elicit site score help you to do that. Then mapping relationship between constructs. In your research, you have a model, you have a framework. Your framework consists of the construct, the variables you are using. How do you know these variables are really, really interrelated or interconnected or are actually good for the discussion you want to have? All right. As human before AI, we need to sit down, read almost 20 articles for each of the constructs. Find the connectivity before we use them. That would take weeks, if not months. For those of us who don't have time, we would go read, file up, go back again. When we are feeling like it, we go back again and read. So today you don't need to do that. Go to your AI, either elicit, plug in all your articles. They will find, the relationship between your constructs. It also helps in suggesting possible theoretical lenses. I remember during Professor Ramaya's training, he talked about theory. Recently, I read a paper And I showed my colleague, we laughed about it. Because there was an argument that the theory, you cannot, manipulate the theory to your own liking. Maybe a theory has 7 constructs, then you want to put in your own construct. You don't own the theory. But one thing you can do is to find a way that theory, okay, shed light on what you want to do. Then you can piggyback on the theory, but not changing the theory's construct, like the research changed. And we're surprised that article was published in a Q1 journal. And they really, really bastardized this theory. A very important theory, UTA, UT2, theory of acceptance for the use of technology 2. They expanded. They over-expand the theory. The owner of the theory, Venkatesh, already expands it. But they also expanded without even, taking, permission from the theory owner. So that is not a good practice, according to Professor Ramaya. But instead of doing that, AI can help you suggest the right theory for you. All right, maybe you are talking about organizational performance and reward and recognition in HR. That's a very, very important thing. If you want your employees to perform, how much are you rewarding their effort? Even if it's a clap or a pat on the back. You want to talk about that, all right? Which theory do you think will be suitable? You don't know. But when you pop it in, it may be either a set theory, all right? That's the social exchange theory, which said, if you do good to me, I return back, goodness to you, social exchange. Maybe you think social exchange is the best, but when you pop it into AI, it will suggest the perfect, all right? Also, in literature mapping, we can use AI to summarize and provide the relevant summaries in connection to other articles, as well as develop your abstract, just like I mentioned. So the value of using AI as your literature, assistant is because you need speed. We need speed. But we're not giving authority to AI. So what we need it for is speed and not authority. So we should continue to, again, have that in mind. And that is why I consistently put that as a reminder. Talking about the use of AI can be enticing and interesting, but we should always continue to remind ourselves of that reason that we are still supposed to be in control. Right. So how do we do literature review synthesis and avoid plagiarism using AI? Again, I put ChatGPT because ChatGPT is the most accessible for a lot of people. There are free versions which you can still use. But when you are doing it, you need to still understand that you as researcher needs to do a lot of the job. So AI should never replace the source engagement. We should still read. But what we can do with AI is to, as we will do during the answer, is to again find articles that matches our topic, and we do the normal reading. Read the abstract, read the introduction, go to the findings. All right. That is going to give you enough information about that article, about that research or study that you are going to use. When you know what they study, you see the introduction. The introduction will, of course, contain the background and all. Then you can check the finding, because you too want to find out something. So if they find out and you see the figures they are quoting there, and when you are doing yours, you have to target an higher figure or at least the same figure, not lower. Because then if you don't have the same power in the figure, then you will know your research is not as strong as that. Maybe there is something you are not doing right. So AI will help us to get the right articles for us to use in that way. So now, if you want to use them, what we do is we impute our notes on the research we're doing, or even abstract, just like I mentioned earlier. Put in your abstract into it, then AI can assist you to compare your arguments with other arguments, highlight similarities or differences in your writings to what other people are arguing about, and also help you structure. You will need to, at all times, rewrite. That is very important to note. The researcher needs to rewrite. Again, AI is consulted here to enhance the speech and to support the lack of time. So we should not, again, trust AI. Right? We shouldn't trust AI. ChatGPT, again, alongside some other AI too, suggest citations that are not even correct, not even in existence. It is our responsibility to go back, check. The simplest way is pop it into Google, Scholar. Pop the title, it will bring it up. If it is not, it will tell you this is not in existence, right? So it is very important to do that. Now, we've talked about what AI must do and AI must not do, but this is a refresher again. We should all know. We should avoid at all costs using AI to generate citations. If we didn't, or if we have not verified those citations, we cannot trust. It is very, very important to know that. AI should not also fabricate, authors, journals, or findings, which I've seen some people use, right? AI should not be the one to write, a ready to submit literature review for you. Some AI output can be so tempting, you might want to put it in. But I tell you, if you do that, they will reject your paper. So what AI has done for you is to reduce the amount of time you will take in writing. But your time to read and be the reviewer, to put in corrected inputs that will make it sound like you, cannot be taken away. So you need to still do that. And when we do that, at all times, we will continue to find that we are able to claim ownership, and we are able to defend our practice or action. Okay? AI should not paraphrase full paper without engagement. If you do that again, that is total unethical. Because again, when you paraphrase, you will use some certain languages, some certain phrases. AI will use phrases that you've never even heard about. And some of these phrases does not work in your own parlance, in your own discipline. Every discipline have their own jargons. You want to use those that relate to your jargons and not bring in engineering jargons to HR, then you are in trouble. Or you'll be in trouble. So these practices will, of course, risk academic misconduct, not encourage efficiency that we are looking for in using AI. So how do we use AI in qualitative research? AI, in most times, can assist a researcher in organizing large volume of qualitative text. Again, when you transcribe, collect your data, recordings, and all, you put it into the transcription AI, it transcribes. It will still generate large, amount of text that you may also not have the time to sit down and meticulously check. You can use AI to organize them thematically now. It will do it perfectly, but you still need to go back and check. At least do the final check of saying, okay, is it really what I wanted to do? Does it really, speak the truth to this data, then it helps in identifying recurring patterns in the data that researcher provided. Again, qualitative, especially in thematic, you need to check recurring patterns in these words. Like I used the example of UOW. UOW may recur more than 5 times because that is the data, that is the numerical data that qualitative researcher claim to also have in their qualitative research, design, which was used to argue against quantitative when they want to compare which one is actually superior to others. For me, each design is good, and I don't think any are superior. So AI will help researchers to identify this. It will also help in suggesting preliminary code labels, as well as supporting reflexive memo writing, which is one of the key aspects of qualitative research. So AI supports in sense making, but not interpretation. Again, it is important to understand this as human researcher cannot trust the interpretation of AI text to be the actual quality or final. You still have to do your work. So for using AI to assist your coding and thematic analysis, again, researchers need to develop the initial code. All right. This is particularly again for qualitative researchers. AI will help you to cluster similar excerpts, just like the thematic coding. But you as a researcher have the responsibility of refining your code, right? Defining your theme, as well as linking your theme to theory. Reason is, AI such as Cloud can help with that. But in most cases, they go extraneous, which could affect your report. So it is better you link the theme to code, to theory yourself. The final decision, of course, still remain human-led, must always still remain human-led. Now, the link I put for Target is to provide information for qualitative researchers among us and among colleagues who might want to conduct research, qualitative research. Target is a very good AI platform that assists in qualitative research at all times. So try to explore that. Check. It's very good if you are doing qualitative research. So AI supports and supervision. Majority of our PhD students, master students, even undergraduates, I've seen it. So I'm not authoritatively saying this, but based on experience and thorough check, I've seen some students copying older, projects or something like that, which should not be encouraged. Right? But majority of them do not know how to. And at most time, they might find it too overwhelming to want to conduct research. Research is something that is not too difficult to do, but if you don't know the way, how to, then it becomes very difficult and confusing. Right? So what we can do, especially for students that we are supervising, is to guide them in how to do their research using AI ethically, starting from topic selection, formatting or structuring, as well as finding the right literature. Because these three are the major that they will include in their proposal at most time. And if they've gotten their proposal right, the proposal contains those three chapters, isn't it? It will be easier for them to go ahead and conduct data collection, then analysis, and writing about the finding and discussion is not too difficult, although they need to synthesize. But if they are able to get the hinge about using AI for literature review, they would have already understand how to use literature AI for literature synthesis as well, which will be helpful for them. But as a supervisor, especially postgraduate students, majority of our postgraduate students might be working, adults, part-timers who may not be having the time. We can involve AI in helping them to also efficiently use the little time they have so that they can balance their work and their study in an appropriate and effective way. So one of the problems postgraduates have, apart from the fact that topic may be difficult for them, although majority of them knows or think they know the topic they want to research upon, but when they get to the supervisor might change everything, which could also become too burdening for them, and they might even get discouraged and run off for a while until you try chasing them around. So topic is one. You can just sit down with them on the laptop and show them how to generate a topic. Generate 3 different topics. You can use ChatGPT for that. Generate the topic, refine the topic. It is important for you to refine the topic because as supervisors, if a student generated a topic with AI and we accept it wholeheartedly, this topic may be, again, synonymous with what AI generates. All right, sometimes AI generates copies of other people's research. That is why it's important for us to, check the research, check the topic, and reframe or rephrase it so that we know our input is coming in. So teach students how to do that. Sit with them and rephrase. Then after that, we can start collecting articles. How do we collect articles? Again, the simplest and cheapest, which is ChatGPT. You can pop in the title that you have already paraphrased or rephrased. Ask ChatGPT to generate 5 recent articles between 2023 to 2025 that relates to your topic. ChatGPT will generate it. Then it is your duty to take these titles, pop them into Google Scholar and search if they are in existence. If they are in existence and you can download them, ask the student to go and read 5 articles at least before they come back. Majority of students, I have a student who downloaded about 50 articles and showed me about 30 of them are not relevant to what they're doing. So first I pity them because they are working class, they don't have time. So I asked him, are you really the one who generated this, these articles? Are you the one who did this literature search? He said, yes. So how do you do it? Then he told me, I just go to Google, I just start. You cannot. You have to at least have a title or topic, or if you have your construct ready, you can pop in your construct there. If you are talking about organizational performance, employee engagement, reward, and recognition, you can pop these 3 into Google Scholar, which is the cheapest and simplest again, and they will pop out different articles that relates to your topic. So, but for you to use AI means you want to shorten the time and you want to get the actual articles. So 5 is enough, and that is the style I use. And it has helped majority of my students to be able to write faster. Again, because we need to consider the time for these students as well, both undergraduate, postgraduate. They have limited time to do all this. But AI helps to also clarify your research problem statement. After students gather the 5 articles, they come back you already told them to bring a draft, even if it is a page of summaries of what they review. Then from there, because the article is 2022 to 2025, that's within a good time frame. We know any problem within this time frame is still going to be hot. So if they are able to summarize appropriately, I don't usually ask students to use AI to summarize, because then I'm taking away the effort that humans have to put into. That is why I hide that from them. But if you trust your student, you can ask them immediately after generating the 5 articles, pop it back now into Elicit or Cloud, which again, a lot of students may not have access to. And if students are undergraduate, you don't want to push them to subscribe. That is why I mentioned again, if the university can have a subsidized, one, it is going to be very good. So if students pop in those 5 articles, just ask the AI to map the discussion and provide a summary, highlighting the major problems. It will bring it out and show the problem. Then you can take the research problem from there and match it again to what you feel should be the problem within the current research you want to conduct, or what your student is trying to write in their project, thesis, or dissertation. So clarifying the research statement or problem statement is important, because from there is where their research would proceed. So if AI generated that, for instance, you use ChatGPT, you can take it back to Cloud again. Cloud will do a surgical test on that problem. So if the problem is really a hot problem currently, if you put it in Cloud and prompt it, Cloud will bring a lot of other current articles, which are even in top tier journals. So if top tier journals are discussing about it, you can be rest assured that yes, you are joining the right discussion. Again, this practice or activity would have taken you a lot of time and days, and AI could do it in few minutes. You can also help your students, again, because majority of them are not having research background. They only have a few months or weeks in a semester to study or to partake in research methodology classes. So to understand how to write in that logical flow may be a little bit challenging for them. AI can now come in to help them. But at this stage, the students should have started writing their literature review. They should start by then. If they know how to gather 5 articles with ChatGPT, they can go back to ChatGPT again, gather more articles relating to their topic, cross-check the article's existence. If it is there, download. If it is not, go back again and ask ChatGPT to even supply the DOI to those articles, which you can use to, compare with your library database. If your library database don't have, you can ask them to ask the librarian if they can provide it. If they cannot provide it, the supervisor may have access. We use a lot of access from my colleague Savannah to get data, to get article. So we can ask colleague, or then can change again to find the best, or you can use SciHub. I don't want to suggest that. But then SciHub is a saver, is a lifesaver. Okay. So after getting those articles and if written apart, maybe you ask them to write, maybe write 1,000 words on 2 of your construct. Maybe write about your independent variable, right? Which is going to be the first discussion in their literature review. So when they finish writing the independent variable, then they submit to you, you review, you can pop it into ChatGPT or Cloud again to show if they have written logically, all right, and showing the right academic coherence. If they have not, you can invite them, sit them down, and pop it in again, showing them how to do it. Then when it generates that, you can ask them to read at least maybe the first 5 or the first paragraph and explain it in their own words. If they're able to explain it in their own word, they can write it. Then you ask them to write as they explain. They are already building a fresh paragraph from what AI has generated for them. So this is how I do with my students. Some of them find it very, very displeasing because it wastes a lot of their time and tax their mind to rewrite again. But I told them, if you do it right, you will enjoy the accolade. If you trust ChatGPT and just dump it, I will send it back to you because I will know and I don't waste my time. So it also helps students in aligning their objective questions and their method. All right. So when students are able to write their chapter 2, now I'm talking about chapter 2. Today's sharing is not about structure of writing, right? But I need to touch on the structure too. Majority of us, even myself, I've made a lot of mistakes until I went for a training on where to start in your research. And this is what the knowledge I bring to my supervision with my student. I always ask them, you cannot tell me you are writing your introduction now because you don't even know what you want to do. You just find out your title. So what are you writing in the introduction? So introduction is not the first chapter to write. In fact, it is the last chapter or the second to the last chapter if you have an executive summary or abstract. And you cannot write your executive summary too early or abstract early because this abstract is a snapshot, synopsis of what you've done. So if you submit your abstract to me now as a student submitted abstract, I say, you are so fast. You collect data, you do everything already. Where did you find the information in your abstract? All right. The same thing goes to the introduction. So the first thing students should do is to start writing their literature. It is this relationship they discover in synthesis within their literature that they can now take back to their methodology. So methodology for some is the first to be written actually, because the methodology is your roadmap. And if you want to ascertain on this format, you can also pop it in ChatGPT. ChatGPT will tell you you need to write your methodology first. Because if you are going somewhere and you don't have a map, how will you get there? If you don't have the knowledge of the path to take, how will you get there? You will end up in a ditch. So methodology will guide you off gutters and drainage and take you to the right destination. And when you have your methodology strong, you can write your literature, tie your literature to your methodology, then you can collect your data, analyze your data, write your finding, discussion, conclusion, then you can go back to introduction, which is supposed to be the last. So for aligning objective is already part of your literature review. Because in your literature review, that is where you will understand the discussion and where you are coming into. What is your objective of your research? So I ask students first, when they come to me, sir, I have this topic. Okay, why are you doing this research? What objective do you aim to achieve in this research? What questions are you trying to ask? Because this research may have been written 101,000 times. So where are you coming in? Student will look at me confounded. So I tell them, go back and search for your objective. Then come back again, we'll discuss your topic. So they go back and bring 2 or 3 objectives again. Later on, we can expand the objective for them. So AI will help students to be able to align their objective. Now, students again don't have time, as well as we academics. So I want to generally talk on both of us, both students and we academics. We have an amount of time we're supposed to set for aligning our objective, questions, all right, and the methods. This time is so expensive, we don't have it. After understanding our topic, we've been able to assess discussion in literature by doing at least a brief literature review of very, very good empirical research, right? Because you cannot get your objective from systematic literature review. It should be from empirical research that has been tested, not proposed. Then we can pop all our summaries into ChatGPT to map out relevant objective and question. Although I will not advise this, because you as a researcher going into a topic should already know why you're going into, and that should consist your objective and the question you want to ask. But again, if we are not having the right time or our mind is not in the right position to do that deep, we can also use AI to assist us. We're not accepting the objective or question that AI is proposing, but it will assist us to be able to think faster in aligning what we have in mind as our own questions and objectives, and be able to draft a perfect or near perfect one. Because in most cases, sometimes when you write your objective earlier, you will need to go back when you do literature review. You need to go back to those objectives and rewrite them in some cases or increase them. So AI will help to shorten the amount of time we need to, invest in doing that, and we can easily align the objective to the method as well as the discussion in literature. The popular one, language refinement, again, we are all not first speakers of English. English is always our second language. So we may be considered not perfect in writing. So we use AI to paraphrase and correct and review our work. So AI does not decide originality. It doesn't decide contribution or even visibility. So when you use AI to draft your topic, you need to consider this. Is your research original? If you just accept AI's output as what is necessary without putting yours, does it promise contribution, your research contributing to the community? Or is it showing feasibility of this topic you are doing? That is why it is important again for us as humans to go back into checking in detail what AI has provided us in response. As supervisors, especially those of us taking care of postgraduates, particularly PhD students, we are required to guide our students to publish, because without publication, they might not meet the requirement for graduation. And it may be overwhelming again for us to read their work, their chapters, and go back to read their articles, go back to guide them on this and that in a natural way. So it is important that we use AI to do this as well. So from the onset, what I usually do, although I've not been lucky in that aspect, is to tell students to do a systematic literature review. Okay? But again, students may not have the right amount of time to input into systematic literature review. Because why do I suggest systematic literature review initially for them? Was because it will help them to understand the areas of gaps and discussion. But since we are using AI, I allow them to skip But I told them, if you go for your first data collection, you have to be prepared to publish. So as they write their chapters, they are also writing chapters for their article. So by the time they collect data, they should already have their chapter 1, 2, 3 ready, as they have their chapter 1, 2, 3 in their thesis ready for proposal defense. So what we can use, and what I've been using, is to use AI to guide them. First, to match the manuscript theme to journal scopes, because this is one of the most important things. The last time we sat with my colleague Saravana to search, after writing a draft of one of the research we're currently conducting, we didn't jump. We go to the targeted article that we wanted and match our abstract to it. So that is the first thing that cuts down the amount of time of rejection and of search. Because papers will reject, journals will reject your paper if it doesn't match their, interest. So by doing that, you already reduce the amount of time the student will spend. And that would really encourage the student, because this will be done by AI in minutes. I sit with my student because, again, majority of them are not able to invest in all this AI that I invested in. So I allow them to use it. But I always tell them, you have to also try your best to find this. It is part of your journey. You need to have all this. If not, that means your implements or instruments are not complete, which will hinder your progress. So you can match manuscript themes to journal scopes using AI, very easy again. You can also compare your aim, readership, and methodological fit, because we're talking about targeting journal. Now, as we know, journal have two major interests: readability and marketability. Journals are business. Although they accept papers from us, they don't pay us. Even when we review for journals, they don't pay us as reviewers. Some of them will not even give you certificate. Just email to thank you if the paper is finally accepted or published, or give you some form of access to download it, some of their journals or some of their articles for a few months, and that's it. So basically, they want to make money out of this research manuscripts being submitted. So if your aim does not compare to the aim of their reader or their target reader for that particular call for paper, then they will not accept. You cannot, promise yourself of having an acceptance from the journal. So AI can help you, because each journal at particular points in time send out calls. If you can get your hand on any of this call, you can put it into ChatGPT, the simplest again, and ask it to match your own title that you've refined now with what these journals wanted. And if you have already refined your title, it can also suggest, but it is still suggesting your own title. So it again makes it very fast for you to be able to write and identify the need of the journal you targeted to submit your paper to. Some journals needed or required researchers to write an elaborate methodological section, provide very large number of data, while some just want you to give them very, very succinct methodological section and data. We will not know as researcher, because journals templates changes. Editors of a journal can change and bring in what their own interest. So this might change what is acceptable as submission for that journal. And if you read a journal that was published in maybe 2021 and think that sample of journal is still the same structure that is being accepted, you might be getting it wrong. But when you pop your work into AI, it could give you the current one, which will save you again a lot of time and depression and RA of rejection. So it could also help your student to interpret author guidelines, again, which is in the process of submission, right? Every journal have their guideline. So to help your students quickly get a journal to submit to, which will encourage them to maybe even go into academics in the future, is finding journals, guidelines, authors' guidelines, which will be easily readable. Now, some journals have very, very complex guidelines, right? That's majority of authors might not have time. And these guidelines is one of the first thing journals check. And that is why majority of our papers, our articles sometimes get rejected, text rejection. Because we didn't follow. It's not that our research is not good. We didn't follow the guidelines. And reviewers have hundreds of articles to check. They don't want to waste their time. If they just checklist you against the guideline and you do, they just throw it. So AI could help you summarize the guideline, even give you a kind of snapshot that you can use to now design. So your student can be able to write accordingly to what the journal needs. It can also support decision-making of your of the journal, but it doesn't guarantee acceptance. But at least it shortens the amount of time your student or yourself will spend on that particular journal submission journey. So AI is good for targeting different kind of journals, because the way AI is designed is to be able to go into these systems and quickly reach whatever you request as information from that and give you the right responses. Again, reminder, the final judgment again lies with you, the researcher. It is not to be trusted to AI. So what are the implications of AI in research for supervision and teaching? We've discussed about this in the previous slide, but this is just an addition. So for we supervisors and lecturers, we always need to again remind our students to model transparent AI use. So our students, because students are not professionals, and students are always in a rush. What they use their time for, I don't really understand, but they seem not to have time. So what we can do to help them is to model, just like I mentioned, sit with your students. They are very fast in learning, they are very intelligent. Show them hands-on how they can do it, and they can model on that for their own. We should always try to teach the process. And that is why today's sharing ends with the process. Because if I just talk and just end the session like that, I've not been fair. Although sometimes as researchers, we are bound to release information while we also condition ourselves to keep some for ourselves. I don't know why, all right? But I want to give colleagues the opportunity to also search themselves, because this is abundant and the information is free. Although subscriptions are required, but search for AI that could assist you in your own research. So we should teach students the process and not the shortcuts. That is why when I ask students to generate topics, I don't ask them to accept the topic. Some people might stop at that point. They're not doing the right thing. If we stop at that point, we have to ask them to rephrase that topic to match what they want to do particularly. That way, we're teaching them the process. And when students grab that, next time they want to do it, they will follow the same step. So shortcut is gone. The right process is being done, which will give them confidence of saying, I did the right thing. The same thing goes to ourselves as educators. When we are doing research, we shouldn't be in too much hurry because we don't have time. We should do the right thing. Because if we rush, we will still come back to the starting point. So it's better to just do it right the first time and then relax. So we should always use AI to scaffold. All right? AI should be used as a ladder to get to where we're going, not as a jet that will fly us there in seconds. All right? So critical thinking is still ours. AI can assist on that, but we should trust our own critical thinking. That means at every point in time, if we still want to remain relevant anyways, it is incontestable at this point, especially with the direction we're going with AI technology, we have to continue to hold on to that critical thinking, because that is what makes us the actual intelligence. We should also encourage students as well as ourselves to do the academic writing, because we don't want to lose this honor as well of being the academic. Because if AI does it, then what are we doing? Then we are actually going to be fulfilling the prophecy of AI taking over the world. But if we still hold that power, AI will continue to be an assistant. Just like the laptop is an assistant for us, the typewriter, the calculator is assisting us. Although the calculator made a lot of us become so lazy now, So, but then it makes life better because things are getting more complex. Even the function and task are getting more and more complex, isn't it? But these tools are helping us to meet up with deadlines and others. So we should also try to do the methodological reasoning. No matter how much we are tempted to use AI for this, we should go back because we're the ones working or taking the part on the journey. It's not the AI. The AI does not understand the path. We do. So we should stand as the traveler ourselves. Knowing the methodology will help us a lot. This will help us also to be able to assess whatever AI is providing for us as an output. Because if we don't stand, maintaining the methodological reasoning, AI would pop, let me say, a research philosophy that is interpretivist, for instance. It will pop it for how do I want to call this? Let me say a positivist research philosophy. Meanwhile, you are doing an interpretivist research, but AI will bring you the positivist idea, which will not make your research ideology match the current research you're doing. So that is why we need to stand, maintaining the methodological reason. We also need to integrate the knowledge of AI, which was what called for today's discussion and sharing, and which I thank the teaching and learning training people for, because of their thoughtfulness in trying to grow the academic environment in and ensuring ethical and responsibility in the use of AI. Because we cannot run away from the use of AI. Majority of us are using it. But the question is, are we using it ethically and responsibly? So in most cases, we need to integrate AI literacy. Literacy in the know-how, which goes into the hands-on that we'll do later, as well as understanding what we need to know about ethics and responsible use of it into our research methods teaching. So in the near future, the curriculum might be changed to include AI prompting, even in research methodology classes, or even just like we're teaching students SPSS, Smart PLS, it will be used to teach students on how to use research, to use AI in research and analysis. So before we start the hands-on, I would like to ask if anybody has anything to ask or even add. It is a sharing session, so if you've had experience using AI before, you can share it with us how you feel, especially the first time using it. How tempted were you, and how honest were you to call yourself back in doing the right thing by rephrasing, paraphrasing, and not wholeheartedly accepting the output from AI. So I will quickly leave the all for participants to contribute if there are any, which I will really appreciate, because again, colleagues have been using AI. Thank you, Melly.
Okay, I have been using AI.
Yeah.
I'll write something in my own words, and then I'll put it in there, so that it's a little bit more beautifully written by AI in a way. Yeah, because sometimes when I send email, I need to be very careful. I'm a program leader. I have to be very careful about what I say. But sometimes, we had so much things going on, like so many things, it's like, that's why I usually go very straight to the point. But I don't realize that sometimes you need to sugarcoat it. I don't sugarcoat my words most of the time. I just go straight to the point. This is what you need to get done, that deal. And I don't have time. Constraint of time, I think a lot of people experience that. So I run through it with AI. They will sugarcoat the thing and then I send, but I'll double check it before. But I always write it beforehand, because the main concern is that according to research, right, if you're using too much AI in your work or whatever that you do, your brain activity actually shrunk. I don't want my brain activity to shrunk. So I actually double check, triple check before I send, and I make sure that everything's fine. But the main reason why I find that it's very useful is because I'm very straightforward. I say what it is, go straight to the point, but I don't sugarcoat my word. But sometimes it's too direct, for some people, they can't take it. So I'm actually very grateful for AI for that, to sugarcoat everything before I send.
Thank you very much.
So if you see a direct email from me, please do not get offended. I'm just running short of time, going straight to the point. Please don't get offended, because it's just me, but I'm not trying to offend anybody. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mei. Yeah, what you've said is absolutely correct, because just like I mentioned during the sharing earlier, AI doesn't have emotional intelligence, although it seems to want to sound like that, but it doesn't have it. And this is what a lot of reviewers use to identify. And this is what I will use as a lecturer assessing my student assignment, as well as my supervisees' writings. But again, as she mentioned, and this is very important, we don't have time. That was where I started the sharing on. No time, and we need to deliver. So how to do? But you've done the right thing, which is what I've been reminding colleagues since the beginning. Always act as the owner of this. Always act as a decision maker, the final decision maker. By going back, take time to read. Of course, we are academics again. If we don't use our brain, the word is atrophy. Our brain will die, and that's all. We become vegetables walking about. So AI will do every other thing. So at every time, we should continue to exercise our brain by reading what we put into AI. Again, to be very candid, we're already very, very efficient with timing using AI. You write yourself, copy into AI, even if it is an idea. I want to send an email to my colleague about this. You have already built the structures of the email. If you can actually give yourself more time, you would have written all the email, because if you have the structure ready, what takes you to write? But because of that time, and because we want to use AI as an assistant. So what I believe Ms. Bailin used AI for was as a writing assistant, or even a secretary, or steno, as we call it in Malaysia.
To
You know?
sugarcoat the words.
Yeah, sugarcoat the words. Yeah.
Because
So-
my emails are too direct sometimes.
Well, which is good. It's called official for a reason, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not ceremonial. So thank you very much. So our any other colleague from Penang?
Yeah, that's Sulaiman here.
Yes.
Very interesting topic.
Thank you.
But when come back to writing again, like what Mailing say, okay, maybe for the office usage, you still can use this to go whatever kind of the writing style. But come back to our publications. AI is honestly speaking, when you submit to the Q1, Q2, sorry, I usage or AI always lead to the rejection. Because you go back to the accountability, whether the content is belongs to you or not. Again, go back to the originality, You're the owner of the content, You can use the AI, like for me, when I'm writing, I can ask some suggestion. That's all. And come back, still, you need to use your skill. Skill means writing skill, If you are poor on that side, and definitely you cannot produce a high quality papers. AI is just a tool. You're depending so much on AI, cannot, because end of the day, when you want to write the implication, that implication is the last part in your, what you call it, article, implication for your studies. And then it will reflect what actually you discussed earlier, in your problem statement, in your introduction, in your background, your data methodology, data analysis, okay? And it's all related to that, your implication. If you ask the machine write for you implication, and then you will give a very general perspective, And normally when the reviewers will focus on that. Then go for the direction for the future research. A lot of people when write a direction for the future research, they try to look for the future 10 years, 20 years, they know it's wrong. You go back to your very simple, under your questionnaire, under the demographic information, use that to write your direction for the literature, the direction for the future research. So definitely AI cannot do that. Because the data is your data. So you have again go back to your data and analyze accordingly. Sometimes they give a very general view, and some of our staff also copy and paste, send to the to the publication. They within a few hours they can that's about death rejection. Lyman-ji mentioned about that. Writing is not easy. You have all the tools, come back again to your originality. You have a lot of papers, actually they retrieve back, Go to the corpus list, a lot of good papers, another side they rejection. They remove the papers from the publication, Shameful, when the organization name is there and then your paper was called off, oh my God. And your name will be there, forever, And you are like you're considered that you are blacklisted. So be careful. Again, we talk about accountability and ethical issues. You are the owner of your research. You're accountable for that content, data analysis, whatever. Maybe you can ask. I mean, for me, what I'm seeing AI is like those days we ask our friend, better to write our problem statement. We go and ask her. She knows very good about what is research methodology. We go and ask her. So, but now we all have in a virtual AI where you can ask from your desktop. Correct?
Yeah.
So, for me, again, come back to your writing. Improve your writing. How you can improve your writing? Through reading. You want to publish, like for example, like for my area is marketing. I'm very much focused when I publish in a Q1. Okay, my aim is very clear. And what I always do is I go for that call for paper. That's one of the easiest one. Instead of you bring your idea and submit to them, go to the general paper, look at a one column called as a call for paper. And from that you take, and that is have a high chance for you to get published. Sometimes our staff, the problem is they will write a lot, but it's not matching with the journal's interest. And the journals are looking for 10 years in advance. They want simply because you are not only submitting papers, billions of people submitting the one journal. Just imagine we have 8.2 billion people. And from the just like take 25% academician students. And imagine they have to take time to review and then and your topics is not relevant. That's why I go for the death rejection immediately. So what just Swimanji said, okay, for targeting your journal, go for journal paper, there is a journal finder. Just take your abstract, okay, put into the journal finder, and they will suggest to you few journals. This is the way how we progress. You don't write first, don't write first, that's wrong. Go and look for a journal, look for the what you call for paper, and write accordingly. And then easily get published. Not easily, still have to go through the process, but high chance. Go for the second level. If you pass the desk level, go for reviewer level. And third level is we call as a decision from the editor. The one you have to wait for another 10 months. We are waiting for 10 months. We submitted one paper to Emerald. We are waiting. We take around 6 months to write the paper. Submitted to Emerald. Still waiting for decision from the editor. Editor super busy.
That is part of the journey.
And just imagine we hope for the good news but let's say you send us a rejection letter. You see how long we have wasted. So please, when you are right, okay, think about, again, originality. Okay, it's all very important. What a lot of people very focused on a data analysis. A data analysis is actually very easy. You're only reporting. Data is there, you report. That's all. But the general reviewers looking into your direction for the future research, practical contribution, theoretical contribution, what you have done for the, what we call as a novelty. When you say theoretical contribution, whether you take a one model, like what you say UTAC, but it's not my area, but marketing, you take one model and how you improvise the model, and that's called novelty. We are not like those days all the great fellows who developed the theories, no, I didn't go to that extent yet.
They can also develop.
So
spend a long time.
The thing is, take some good theories, good theories, take the variables from that theory.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saravana.
Sorry, I just want sharing.
No, it's very good. I really appreciate, because most of what you said is re-emphasizing on what I've mentioned earlier, about responsible and ethical use of AI. AI should not be your replacement. It should be at all times your assistant. You should still rely on your own, practical ability, and you should, as academics or even as individual, continue to read. If we stop reading, then we are dead. That's just it. So thank you very much. I don't know, we still have about 7 minutes. So if the KL, the Selangor colleagues also have any sharing or question to ask, the floor is open. Okay, if there are the 7 minutes, we can use it for a short break before resuming back to do the answer. Thank you very much for listening. So I will also take a break. 7 minutes, we return back. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for the sharing.
You're welcome.
If anyone interested in the marketing, come to me. You can write a paper. Anita, actually, I thought your students, when you're teaching your students, you give a lot of inputs. Marketing also part of your, you can just copy it. Can Anita Wang and
Meeting me, correct?
we can work, no issue. Shama already started to write. Shama already started to write a grant review. Vanessa, you can go for interval grant, Vanessa. We can write. Why you are in a reluctant one?
Many submissions for internal.
Oh.
I feel very stressful. I feel like I have no time. I feel like freaking
No,
7
I
hours,
feel
8 hours, 10 hours, not enough.
Yes, of
I
course.
feel like I want to quit everything and just go do teaching.
Don't need to
No,
do
you
this.
can't just do teaching. You have to do extra work as well.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. So now we will try our best to conduct the hands-on within the little time we have. I plan to finish before 1 so that we can do a lot of. So thank you very much for your patience again. This is the main junction. So I decided to bring the hands-on on literature review AI, showing my workflow. Hello? Showing my workflow. This is my personal workflow. So I'm exposing my secret and my, what is it called? Yeah, my secret anyways. So my strategy in using AI, especially for literature review. This workflow is not one size fits all. You can adapt it or adopt it to your own need. Meanwhile, each discipline, just like the colleague in marketing talked about, may be different. But generally, this workflow has helped me and a lot of my students. This is what I share to the majority of my students based on my own personal experience. So there are so many AI and assistive LLMs for literature, but it is important again to know that you are in charge and you are supposed to take responsibility. And using AI does not guarantee publication if you have not done the right thing. So how to use AI to do the right thing is the majority of what we will discuss within this workshop. So the first thing, if I have a literature review to do, again, this is my own style of writing. I don't write introduction, and I advise people, you cannot write introduction first. You have to write it last. So with my students, when they come, when we sit together like this, first thing is telling them how to find your title. So I didn't put the, what is it called? Section for title in this framework, because this is what we discuss generally first. The most important workflow is what I put in. Because with title, you can get that within a few minutes, and your student can refine it within 30 minutes or so too. But finding literature is quite a humongous task for researchers. And that is why we start from here. So the first thing I always advise students is to, first of all, find what we call a reference manager. Now, when I ask this question, majority of my students don't, or supervisees, don't even have a reference manager. So how do they want to work efficiently if you don't have a reference manager? We have a lot of reference manager. We have Mendeley, we have Zotero. You cannot put yourself into that punishment of designing reference with Microsoft. It is very tedious and it is painstaking. So I don't want to, when I have a very, very, easy and readily available, reference manager. So Zotero is preferable. I use Mendeley too on my other laptop, but Zotero I use for major work articles, because Zotero have the capacity to work with a lot of AI. A lot of the AI I use automatically sync with Zotero, and that is why I'm prescribing Zotero for everyone. Zotero is easy to use. Just go, it's free download. You don't need to subscribe on it. Download, install on your laptop, and check for you can also put in, what is it called? The web version. So that when you are checking for an article on web, for instance, it could automatically link you to Zotero. It's just a download to Zotero. The same thing with Mendeley. Mendeley web app 2 will download your article to your cache. So whatever you are stocking in your web is reflecting in your app on your laptop. So when you want to access it, just click, you will access it. So when you are, for instance, citing your explanation, you want to evidentialize them, you can just go to Zotero, because Zotero also sync with your Microsoft Word. So as you work, Zotero is there. So whenever you need to cite, you can just click on it. Zotero will bring out the list just by typing in the search column the name of the author or the authors. Zotero will link you to it. Click on it, it goes straight into your work, into your writing. So you are automatically citing while you work, which reduces a lot of trouble. And when it comes to your final referencing part, you just need to click bibliography or insert reference or insert bibliography. They have all the bibliographical, what is it called? The upper, the Harvard styling, everything is there. You just select which one the journal wants, and it's referenced alphabetically, arranging everything perfectly. And if your article that you download onto Zotero and then have DOI, it will also put your DOI. So your article will look very, very clean and very, very original, right? So Zotero is the first. When you have your reference manager, then you can start to look for your literature. Again, I use Elicit. I use SiteScore. I use Research Rabbit. I use Google Scholar. See, the good old Google Scholar is still there. I cannot throw it away. And I encourage all of us not to throw it away. It is very important. It is the fact checker for me. When AI generates or supply me an article title, I will put it back there. I also generate article. You can get a lot of free articles from there as well. So Notebook LM is one of the very, very good AI tool, Google Notebook LM, as well as Consensus. All these AI have their own usage. So I will start. So finding article, if I'm not using ChatGPT, which I don't like to use majorly, I can use Claude. Now, I have pre-typed this because of time, right? I pre-typed it. This is the normal prompt I use and I normally give my students to use. So this is about a topic on AI, human AI collaboration and consultant digital capability in project management. So when you type this kind of prompt, it's a simple prompt. Again, prompting is very important for AI usage. If you don't prompt properly, it will not give you the right thing. So you need to. So what I tell my students who may be having problems in writing English is go back to ChatGPT, explain what you want, and ask ChatGPT to prompt it for you, to create a prompt, a short prompt that you can put into Claude or any of these other AI article finders. You know, when you put it there, ChatGPT can generate the prompt for you, and then you can pop this prompt into Claude as it is. If you are using Claude, again, Claude, when you look at the Claude is a subscribed, what is it called? A subscribed AI version. If you use the lowest version, you will not be able to get the right thing. So for me, I'm using Opus 4.6. Claude have different versions, but Opus 4.6 is currently the most strongest and powerful. It is the recent one. So this is what I subscribe, and it is just 20 ringgit. So it's sorry, 85 ringgit, $20. So please, you can do that. It will help you. You see, the usability goes beyond that amount of money that we're spending. So there are different models, as you can see. There is Opus 3, there's Sonnet 4.6, IQ 4.5. So all these are older and fewer newer models. So the one that I use and I trust is 4.6. It's not that I trust them, I can trust them with everything, no, but it is very, very versatile and more efficient. So now in my Claude, as you can see, I've also included the extended version, because extended version will conduct deeper research. It will take time to respond, but it will give you almost near accurate. So what you need to do is going to be easier and you won't need to spend much time. So after copying in the prompt, usually I will just request. So I have already generated the response for this, but I couldn't, the response, because I disengaged with my laptop and the response disappeared. I didn't intend to save, so it could take some while to do. So while it is loading, it is thinking and thinking, I will go back here to the next step or stage in the workflow. So finding literature. During the discussion earlier, I've already given some few hints on how to find literature. So the process is easy as well. What this workflow is taking care of is I am planning to write an article. I'm planning to carry out a research, all right? I've already technically idealized the topic I want to write about. I've built that interest on the topic. Motivation is there, but I'm finding it a little bit, difficult to have time to sit down and read, do my literature review properly, like the traditional way, because of time, because I need to go to class, I need to do a lot of other tasks, which are very, very important. So I am looking at how to do this. Okay, I don't want to get home and open my laptop and start searching. Rather, I might want to get home after having my dinner, open my laptop and read a few articles before I go to bed so that I can dream about them and more ideas can come about. That is again my workflow. I always read before I sleep, so sometimes I dream about I find connections sometimes. So this is what I want to do, and that is why I consult AI. So I find literature again with AI. Don't use ChatGPT because ChatGPT might supply you non-existing literature. You can use one of these, SiteSpace, all right? Notebook LM and Consensus. Now, what these three app does is that they don't only generate articles for you. So let us go to SiteSpace. So we can ask SiteSpace to, for instance, provide, sorry. You see, what is good about SiteSpace? I'm using, for this one, I'm using the free version. So it has limitation, all right? So you see, look up here, you see SiteSpace is connected to Zotero, Mendeley, and you can even save on your own cloud. And this is Notebook, and this is GitHub. That's literally use this well. So all this is why I like SiteSpace too, because majority of these AI are syncing together. So this is why in the future, we will have to just bow to the use. We cannot condemn. No matter how much we want to think, want to go traditional, no, we still need them for efficiency, most especially. So the moment you type in any prompt, it may automatically list down some option that you can choose from if it meets your prompt need. But for this, I will just say provide, let me say 6, okay? Empirical articles, AI, in So now this is the most basic use of SiteScope. If I had it in the prompt, match them to the topic and identify discussions within the literature review, it will do it. It can even provide me the literature review table as well. Now, you see all these have highlighted links. So if we click on this link, it should go straight to this paper. See, and it's an Emerald journal. So look at what happened now. Because I have Mendeley, I can easily download this paper onto Mendeley if it is available for download. But if it is not available, I can find it elsewhere. So this is basically what I do now. Look at how much time. If I take this same prompt to Google Scholar is versatile too. It will not give me what this gave me. Again, I gave SiteScore a basic prompt. This is the basic of all basic. If I tell it, match this topic with these 5 articles and provide discussions, it will do that. And I could take this discussion, paste it on my Word file, keep them there till I get a satisfying amount of discussion. Then I go back to those discussions and I'll start reading. I will read the discussion, compare it with my own drafts. Okay? And I can now sync my draft into that discussion. So this is generally the way I use SiteScore to generate my articles. Now, it will not go about generating articles that is not relevant or even articles that I will waste my time. It will generate articles that go straight to my point. So when you look at the title here, you see this is Human and AI Interaction Research Agenda. This is, of course, what is it called? A literature review or conceptual paper. So although I gave it, what is it called? I gave it the prompt of empirical. So this is why you cannot trust AI, automatically or 100%, because sometimes they provide response based on the convenience. Maybe there are no much article on recent article on AI human interaction, but it really wants to give you a response. So it brings the most convenient response. That is why you need to go back and read. And majority of these articles, if you are able to download them, you can also go back to their reference and see what they are using in their own discussion. So automatically, you can also gather your own reference from these references, which also reduces the amount of search you need to do. So this is technically a JSON prompt, which SiteScore usually use to gather the right data. Okay, let's go back to our Claude. Okay, so Claude has already generated. I don't know why it's not showing here. It's supposed to show through output here. Okay, but I think maybe network or server something. So now, if you look at what it has generated, right, these are the 5 articles that I asked it to generate. It generated it, give me the journal name, the DOI, and you see, this is why Claude is wonderful. In my prompt, I didn't remember telling it to give me the literature, the complete, description of the research. Now, what Claude did was, again, it did this because I've been using it. So there is a kind of instruction prompt that I've already put into it. Okay, so you can also do that. When you register, they will ask you some few questions, then there is a portion. Because this is something I've been using, I cannot go back to a fresh one. If I do, it will take me back to my page, so I will not be able to start afresh. But if you can open on yours to start afresh, you will see a portion where you can actually give it a specific instruction tailored to your own research activity. So whenever it is searching, it will search for you. So because in the past, I've already prompted it to search for me. I want to build a literature review table because I want to show one of my supervisors how to do that. And we don't have time to sit back and do it. So I just ask it to generate. So at a glance, the student knows how a literature review table looks like, what it's supposed to be in the content of literature review, and how to actually structure the literature review. So that is why it is bringing this out for me. So when you see the response, it gives me the relevance of this current research to my current study with the title I put in. All right. The same thing here, and it gave me a summary of the literature review table. So this is part of the literature review summary. The main literature review summary that will be in the student's thesis will have the author's name and date. So with the title of the article you use, but these other ones are part of it, minus the description of the methodology. So this is another output. As you can see, it brings out the title, explain the method, even give us the number of unit of respondents that the research uses, the population of the research, the sample population, 420 construction workers, region, South Korea, which make your research more, particularly honest and clear. So any reviewer who wants to check will go back to these articles and find out. So you are reporting the correct thing. So it also provided key findings. So you already know what is expected to be founded and where you are expected to come into the discussion. And it gives you the relevance again to your research. So this is how Claude will generate. So another thing you might want to use is Elicit. Now, Elicit 2 is currently on subscription base. I have already subscribed before, but my subscription ended, and because I have alternatives. But I love Elicit because Elicit can even provide, design your mind map. It can also match your articles, your question to, what you are doing. So construct matching everything to do that. So for Elicit, you can ask it to, generate a structured research report. So let me take one of these. Let me take one of these online versus person computer-based test. So go. You see, it is showing me to upgrade already, but I don't want to upgrade yet. I spent a lot already. So you see, what Elicit does is it provides you the abstract, method, even the results. You see, study design, the sample size in this beautiful table, and it elaborates more on it. This cuts back a lot of time wasting that we do if we want to go the traditional way, of researching and reviewing literature. Now, what this AI has generated is not a fake, what is it called, material. These are real research. And if you don't believe what I do is, I go back, right? I go back. I go back to this study. I copy this, and I go back to Google Scholar here. Then I pop it into Google Scholar, click. Okay. This is without author. Sometimes it will give you the response. Sometimes you need to include the author for quicker process. So this is what it gives us. And we can either check again, to compare with what Elicit has provided. So these are other authors that it has provided. So we will check each one of them one after the other against this topic. Then if we want to know which exact article was published from this author in relation to this title, we can put the author to in Google Map. But just to let us know that this title is in existence. Generally, we go to Google Scholar and we put it in and we see a lot of discussion. So if we want to know, okay, this is the particular author we want, we can include the author in this search box and click. It will direct us to author. But what I want to really emphasize upon is Elicit will not provide a non-existing research article. They always give existing research article. So if it is an upgraded one, there are a lot of things that I can do with this report. But because it is not upgraded, you see, it is only view only. So I cannot do the mind map or other things that I'm supposed to be able to do with it, right? So it is a pity that most of these are, paid version for you to enjoy them at length. But again, we cannot blame them. So after generating my articles, I find the literature, I link literature into my reference manager. Don't forget Zotero, Mendeley, some of these apps like Claude and SiteScore have these apps already embedded. So the moment you click, they can save the articles into your reference managers. Then I go back. I've gathered about 20 articles within the short time that I use AI to gather. I don't just use this article, pop them into AI and ask them to write my literature. No, some people use it, all right? Again, because they want to save time. What I do is I go back again to do the good old reading. I have to make myself engage and make myself the sole decider of which article I'm going to take and what discussion I want to join. So I read these 20 or 10 articles, either skimming or speed reading or deep reading, all right? Starting with the abstract, the normal way we read. Introduction in article are less than 200 words, sometimes 150, sometimes 200. They are not too many. But some articles, some journals can go more than that. So I always try to take those journals with a short introduction, snapshot. I get what I want, go to their finding, and then sometimes go to their discussion. If I have time, if I find it so interesting, I can go to where they prescribe for the future direction or future research. So I know which area I can join the discussion in. So I do this for the 20 article. I find myself fulfilled with what I have. Then I go back to mapping the concept. Now, mapping concept is very important after gathering article. We do this traditionally in the past. That is why we know which article we want to cite as evidence or which we don't want to cite, which we want to support their argument or which we want to argue against as the researcher. But now AI can help us. And one of the most prominent AI I use is the consensus, just like the name implies. Consensus AI will help you. I'm sorry, this is connected. I think I wasn't able to go into consensus just now. So consensus. So all these AI are readily available. Why is it not? I think this was the problem. I don't know why. Maybe our server is blocking or something. I can't show. So I wasn't able to log into Consensus AI. So probably I was able to log in at home, but here in the morning when I want to put everything up, I wasn't able to log in. But what I do is I go into Consensus AI and I put in all these 20 articles. So if you are on pro version, you can put unlimited number of articles. So if you have 50 articles for your research and you want to cut down on the amount of time that you want to do your literature review to find, areas that you want to synthesize and join the discussion, you can use Consensus. Pop in all your articles into Consensus and prompt it, all right, to find the synthesis and the discussion, related discussion, because you are using it to find the consensus between researchers about this particular topic of discussion. It will bring it out and it will match the discussion together with citation. All right, this is an area that I need to include this caveat because it is very tempting. Yes, it can provide you the whole length of your word count for your literature review, and you might be tempted to just take it and pop it into your literature review. That is unethical. It is unethical. Again, as human beings, we need to go back. Consensus, I don't know, maybe it was developed by researchers or using researchers' brain. I have already vetted it. It is 99.9% accurate because it is not writing. It is taken from the articles that researchers have written. So it is able to mimic human discussion as well. But the question of ethical comes in, which we need to now observe. And that is why you need to go back. You need to understand this is not your work. You want to own this work. You want to pump your chest among the community of practice saying, I wrote this myself. You want to be able to present and talk about it, out of your mind to show ownership. You need to go back. And that is where I do my paraphrasing. I am writing the same thing, consensus supply, but using my own word, just like I do with my student. I gave them a paragraph, tell them, write this according to your own, understanding. If I can do that myself, I've written it myself. So if I write it myself, if anyone pop it into AI detector, they would still find it is human. Meanwhile, AI has helped me in the thinking process to reduce the amount of time I will need to think, giving much rest for my brain and allowing my brain to concentrate or focus on much more demanding and important tasks. So this is the way I use AI. So it's a pity we couldn't go into consensus. So you would have seen it. For pro version again, consensus will bring out the mapping. It will give you the different charts of which paper connected. It will even put the region of that where the paper come from. It is just like doing a scientometric, analysis for you. Scientometric analysis is like a systematic literature review, but in a different way. So this is what consensus does. Notebook LM does similar thing, but what Notebook LM can do is it can also provide you a kind of projected response that will give you captions that directly relates to your own research. So you can take those captions and paraphrase them and put them in your research. What we do as researchers in literature review is to digest the discussion and regurgitate it in our own understanding. So the AI has helped you in this case to digest it. You need to now redigest and regurgitate. But what it has helped you to do is reduce the amount of memory engagement or mind engagement that you need to put in. Sometimes we read and we feel headache. because of the amount of power our brain uses. So that will make your brain cool a little bit, and it will give you a large amount of time to cover a load, pile load of literature. So after this, I get into this big portion of my workflow. So this is where my work comes in. And this is where I collaborate more with AI. So the content, I want to start writing. I'm satisfied. I've gotten my mapping concept. And another thing I forgot is Consensus Notebook LM. If you prompt them, they can also generate gaps for you. Perfect gaps that can be trusted. Because if you go back yourself as a researcher to read in a way or manner of finding gap, you come back to the same gap they find. So why do you want to bother yourself with that? All right. So if you do this appropriately, I tell you, we will be able to publish more, write better and efficiently, and we will have much more headache that we currently are having because we think we don't have time and we have to meet up with KPI. I trained myself writing, which I believe majority of us have done. Nobody in the age or the category of a lecturer today have not gone through the process of manual studying, writing. It is only students of nowadays, maybe when they get to our own category as lecturers, they cannot boast of reading like we've done. So we read already, so we have that practice. I will continue to put it into our work, which I continue to do. So the content, what I do, I use majorly this AI. ChatGPT, I still use, I will tell you how I use it. Jenny AI, Socially, for finding sources to support. Now, I write my own word, my own statement, my own paragraph from what I have already gathered. So if I'm not satisfied with what Consensus or Notebook have given me, I go back to Jenny AI or Socially. Socially, as the name implies, find the perfect and correct source for your statement on the research. So I use them to actually compare the sources. So if, for instance, one source I cannot get the article to download because I need to put them inside my reference manager for, what is it called, citation, I can use Sourcely to get another one, which might even be better. So again, Sourcely is very easy to So this is how Sourcely is. Sourcely tool is paid, okay, but you can use a free version that is not much more versatile. All right. So I use Sourcely to support my citation. I paste in my writing, my paragraph, and Sourcely link or synthesize to the right citation. It will also bring the citation statement for you to compare. So if you think yours own is missing on something, you can adapt from that original one. After all, you are citing them or paraphrasing what they've written, which is majorly what we do doing research. So I build the content in this way. Sometimes I compare with ChatGPT too, although I don't trust ChatGPT at all. But just to find more, angles to validate whatever I'm getting, I use all this AI. Jenny.ai is not, designed to my own finding or understanding. It's not designed for academics. It's designed for general purpose business and co. But if you use it for academic and you prompt it well, it could give you, but the responses it gives are not as perfect as those of Claude or even ChatGPT. So that is why I don't really center my concentration on using it. So after I've already developed my structure, sorry, my content. Sorry. The first is structure, not content. In the mind workflow, I do structure first. Sorry, I mixed it up. So structure, I use ChatGPT or Thesis AI. If for my students, I introduce Thesis AI for them, but I pull back that what is it called? That introduction. Reason is, Thesis.ai is very, very powerful. It is powerful in the sense that what the amount of text it can generate can even cover all the student thesis. Yes, because it can generate more than 20,000 words, which is more than what a chapter can even, consist as a content. So students can easily be pulled into using it. So that is why I told them, I don't want you to use thesis.ai. If you use it, I will know and I can penalize you on that. So they are not using it. So, but for me, when I want to write, for instance, if we want to write a grant, we can use it to tailor our grant, but not to copy it or not to be, enticed into using it. And if we find a grant reviewer who is also an AI adept person, mess up ourselves. And integrity and image is very important as academics. If your paper is retracted or redacted, that is not a good thing. If you are blacklisted, then you are no longer an academic. And if you are not publishing as an academic, what are you in academic for? So I use this to show me how I can structure from my abstract or executive summary down to the final. Then I can know which headings I need to put into my own content, which sub-headings if need be, and how to actually structure. Now, ChatGPT again, at a glance, can also provide structure. If I want to write an article, for instance, I want to write an article for a particular journal, and I don't want to go into their journal format and read about it, I can ask ChatGPT to provide a format for me because I want to start work fast. The way I write is I already have my structure. So I built my writing on my structure. So just like this, when you look at this, you see I have methodology already that I use. So I've already started writing my methodology part. So my structure is ready. When I finish writing my methodology part and I'm satisfied with it, I just copy and paste into my structure, the main article structure. So by writing my methodology part differently, I am actually going to be fine-tuning inside that other document, not in my main structure. What goes into my main structure is a near finished work. So after that, I will still do more reviewing, more reading, sharing among colleagues, but I will satisfy that at least 70% I'm okay. So I would expect the 30% to be included from responses from my colleagues and experts that I might be using. So I use ChatGPT to structure, all right, from the introduction to all the topics based on my own model or construct that I want to write about. So after that, after building the content, because I am considered as a non-native English speaker, and majority of journal, published in English. It's only a few that are published in Spanish, French, or Mandarin, or Korean, or other languages. All right. So I will put in my work into AI because I don't want to use Grammarly. Reason is, majority of the time I use Grammarly. Grammarly, it destructs the arrangement of my work. And I have made a mistake of submitting Grammarly's report And I find out so much blunder because I wasn't patient enough to go back and read. So from that, I learned my lesson. I use Grammarly, but I don't put in all my work to review for me. So I use AI. Now, ChatGPT, I use it. I use Tessily, and I use, again, Grammarly, but not as much. That's why I push it to the last. So I used AI to review. Review means I employ it as an article reviewer. So what it does is, I don't pump in all the content of my written manuscript. I put all of them in chapter by chapter. So I will put in the chapter 1 first and ask it to review. Meanwhile, I am not reviewing it in a general term. I would ask ChatGPT to review the particular write-up according to what Emerald reviewer would expect, actually. So it will assume the position of an Emerald reviewer and give me the review point. So when I look at the review, I can make corrections on my main work. You see, I'm not using GPT to write. I'm just asking it to work for me. So instead of submitting my article and getting blocked by a reviewer, by the way, after receiving some reviews recently, I noticed that some reviewers also use AI to review our work, which we cannot blame them. Reviewers are doing this work for free. I also review, but I've never used AI to review. But I've been tempted now seeing major reviewers use AI. I want to also use AI to review. One is because I know I will use it ethically, but is it really ethical for us to trust this review process to an AI? So that is the question to ask ourselves. So I would give AI this task to review the write-up and offer me areas of correction, improvement, addition, and it will do it. And when I put that in, it really worked well for me. The recent submissions that I had, the review that I got were very, very minimal compared to the past when I don't use these tools. So the most important thing is you are not using the output. You are using suggestions from the output to better your work, which is what we're supposed to be using AI for as an academic. So I use GPT. I use it to review, and if it is a larger, like chapter 2, for instance, I will not use GPT because GPT will bastardize my work too and include some unacceptable, languages or phrases or even references that are not. So I go back to Tessily, which is a proper academic thesis reviewer. So it review it according to like reviewing a thesis and give me a valuable reviewer response, which I can work on to make my literature review better. It can even suggest ways to, rewrite the phrase maybe more succinctly or elaboratively. And if it requires more than one citation, suggest an additional citation. So all these will make your work better. Again, you are not trusting AI, but you are using them to support your workflow. So the final that I use after I must have finished writing my, let's say, literature review chapter is that I go back to being human. So I throw away all my AI assistant. I give them coffee break or vacation. Then I go back, open my laptop, find time, I read twice. Sometimes when we write immediately, we are so enticed, we are so happy. But if we go back to the same thing we've written a month later, we'll find that we cannot even accept some of what we wrote ourselves. Even using AI, sometimes I find out that some discussion that I've used is not appropriate. So I have to take it out and rewrite it. So after that, I will find colleagues who are free, and especially, I'm not saying I don't trust my colleague, but this is a life work that I've imputed, invested a lot of time. So the colleague that is trusted, one, to give you valuable and honest, review, as well as time to review, because we cannot blame our colleagues. We have the same time given to us. We don't have extra time. They too have their own work. But some colleagues are so generous with their time, they will help me to read. Mr. Saravana is one of them. He always help me to read. And his valuable response is so good. I always impute it, and my paper is getting better. So this portion shows that we still go back to being human. We don't trust the process to only AI, and that is my workflow. So after that, I can find other chapters, right? And I go back after finishing the other chapters. I don't need AI to support my discussion or findings. Those are my own personal work, but I use AI to paraphrase and review the way I write my finding. Sometimes I find it difficult to write my finding in a very succinct manner. I want to report everything I find. I use AI to reduce the word count and to make it more concise or succinct with the way I write. So that is it. So this is my workflow. I know the hands-on is not wholly or fully and hands-on, but again, using AI tool does not really require total hands-on demonstration, because most of these tools are readily available for everyone to access and explore. So what I will encourage is that colleagues to go out there to find this AI and explore them. Most of them have free version, but they are all priced or subscription if you really want to enjoy their usage. So that is that for me. I hope everyone has enjoyed the session as I have. I'm glad to have shared this and to have shared the secret of how I write effectively and efficiently. In that way, giving myself much time to do other things. So my WhatsApp QR is there. My details are here. Anyone who wants to collaborate, the university have encouraged collaboration. Research is not domiciled in a particular discipline. We can do cross, So we can do cross research. We can actually collaborate to write. We can share views from different perspectives. So I will be happy and appreciative if anyone is ready to collaborate with me. Always ready to do research. I love to write. I love to read as well. So I believe we can all combine our efforts to bring out a good paper. And collaboration is actually what can help us, especially as an academic in our own industry, especially or particularly in the private sector, private educational provider sector. So we can optimize the little time we have by sharing ideas and working together instead of only one person working. So with that, we can be effective in operation. So thank you very much for your attention and your patience. So I will hand over the floor to Nuru, if she's there. Continue to anchor in case anyone has any question to ask. You have 5 minutes. So Nuru Amalia. I'm handing the floor to you.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Hazim.
Azim.
Mr. Azim. Oh, you are the one. Long time.
So beautiful.
So Amalia is out for a while. I'm just here. So and thank you so much for your session. So if there's no question, I will end the session.
Thank you very much once again for the opportunity. I will see everyone again next time. Bye.
Bye bye.